Okay, so we're getting ready to have kind of a little, let's go through the generator situation right here. So we have a couple more trade shows this year, and I've went ahead and swapped out tires on here, which I did myself. Went ahead and swapped out tires here, which I did myself. I'm super happy with that. I'm going to be going through the generator. And so we have a 2024. So it's got a 7,000 watt Cummins Onan generator. And I just got done through going through and servicing oil and fuel. Didn't need an air filter, which I'll show you. And then I'll kind of show you a level of concern for me based on how this thing is put in here. Okay. So to start off with, this was the original fuel filter. I opted for the Cummins version, and the part number on this bad boy is 1492341. So that's what's in that bad boy. I opted for this one because the factory one has this kind of red thread locker stuff on there, or PTFE kind of thing, or whatever it is. I did buy the Napa Gold one, and there is the part number for the Napa Gold one. The OEM one, like from Amazon, was about $10 cheaper than what this bad boy was. And the one from Onan is made in China, and this one's made in Taiwan. So, but the one made in Taiwan does not have that red stuff on it. But basically, same everything, right? Like literally identical. So whatever. And then this is the fuel filter that I did put in there. Typically, like Hastings makes this for Napa, and they also make like Wicks. Napa Gold is, I mean, they all seem to be along the same lines. I would have put Hastings in there if that had been available, just because I prefer that, because that's pretty much what I run in here. That's what I run in the motorhome, and that's pretty much what I run in all my equipment. Just because I really like the filters, and they've done a good job. They always seem to fit extremely well. Okay, so the next thing is, here's going to be your drain valve. So right here, you put your pan underneath here, which I use that little sub pan right there. And there is a drain tube right there. So when you open that petcock right there, it just drains right into there. Does an absolutely awesome job. Zero issues with that. Worked great. This is going to be your fill location right here, which is super easy to deal with. And then you're going to have your filter, which is right there, which is also right there, which is super easy to get to. This is going to be an air intake. I did use these pliers to get a hold of it, but I did have to put them like up at an angle, because that filter stops about right here, and this whole aluminum base right here is kind of in the way. And but these took it off like it was nothing, so it really didn't matter at all. Now the next thing I'm going to show you right here is going to be the location of the fuel pump and fuel filter. So I'm going to go ahead and set this down. Here's going to be your fuel pump, and here is the location of that fuel filter. So I was actually able to take this out by hand. So I basically I put a clamp on this. So I have a fuel line clamp that I'll put on there. And I went ahead and slid that on there. So if you pull the shroud back, there's the fuel line right there, and then you got your return. But anyway, so I'll just slap this up on there, tighten it down, and then I'll take this clamp loose here. And then this right here, I was able to, from the factory, I was able to thread this out by hand. Although right now I won't be able to do that because I actually tightened it up more than what it was from the factory. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe the weak starting that I had, like where it seemed like it was starved with fuel, maybe that's not as big a deal. If this is tightened down more, I don't know. Time will tell. But so underneath, here's your fuel filter, here's your fuel pump. This is a low flow pump, which is kind of unique. And then looking up top, basically you're going to have, you know, your oil filter is going to be underneath here. It's going to be right there, like right there. And then your drain valve and that kind of stuff, which is right up underneath here again. So there you go. This is your drain. There's your filter. And there's that. And then as far as you can see, that is really good clean oil. Now I did just change it. I'll show you what oil I chose. I'm kind of a Volkswagen guy, so when it comes to air-cooled engines, I really prefer a like a high detergent oil, simply because in Volkswagens I don't really have an oil filter. This one has an oil filter, so really an SAE would be great. But what I've opted for, and so I put a sticker right here as far as my maintenance is concerned. So at 90 hours, which is how many hours is on this thing, I changed the oil and the fuel filter. This is the date that I did it. And then I used a 10W30 Valvoline VR1. And so this is what I used. This is a high zinc oil. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to an air-cooled engine, I think the high zinc is going to be optimal to help deal with a lot of the problems. Now, the oil in this container over here, when I drained it out of this rig, had a lot of like brass level particulates in it. So I'm super suspect that this engine at 90 hours is already hurt, and I may, end up doing something different. And what I mean by different is that this thing gone, diesel, boom, because that's what I'm much more interested in. I like diesel. All my equipment's diesel. Everything I own is diesel, with the exception of a few things. But I love diesel. I think it's just much better. And this is going to circle down to the end of this thing right here. The air filter is actually in really good shape. So the air filter here. You can see here, there's no reason to change that. There's nothing inside those pleats. Looks really good. I don't see any like deformation or any weird stuff going on here. So I went ahead and just left it. I mean, at 90 hours, I would expect that, especially in a environment where it's heavily protected. Okay, so what is my issue with this whole thing? So first of all, I want you to notice where this shroud is adjacent to these arms. Now, these are riveted on. So the only way to get this whole thing out is to take these apart, or take this channeling around the outside completely off, right? Which, the way that it works, you got to pop these screws out, take all these screws out, take these screws out, and then you have to cut all the caulk and then pop this thing out. And the reason that I'm bringing that whole thing up is, let me get my light. See that little gray thing? It's literally right there, like right past that valve cover. That's where the spark plug is. So if that's this spark plug, and that's how much of a pain in the ass it is to get to this one, imagine how bad it is to get to the other one. Right? And this is an exhaust gas recycling tube for evap or something like that. It comes right off the exhaust. You can see it down here. It's hot as snot. It's pretty good for preheat, but man, it'd be nice if they could have a baffle in here to shut that off once it's warm. But anyway, guess what I'm getting at is I'm sure it's a real peach to change the spark plugs on this bad boy. And definitely not looking forward to that. I mean, it may be so bad, I may be so not interested that this whole thing will get swapped out for a diesel one. And then it'll produce more power anyway for the same kind of footprint. But anyway, long story short, basically the spark plugs are an area of concern. There are 4 screws on this shroud that you could probably pop it off, but you have to take all this other stuff loose to get it out. So anyway, just kind of letting you guys know. Everything else is really serviceable, really easy to deal with. The increments on here that they want you to do, I chose 10W30 based on what the recommendations were for 0 degrees to 80 degrees. That's going to be kind of the area that I operate in. 15W40 is 10 degrees to 100 degrees, and it's too freezing here for that, so I'm not doing that. But 5W30 is for -20 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and my problem is that I operate in the -20. However, I operate at a much higher temperature, so technically 5W40 would actually work great. However, that's not an option, so I'm going to go ahead and go with whatever they got here. It does say that you're supposed to actually do this at 150 hours. 100% glad that I did it as I did, and I'm going to kind of try to give you an idea of what I mean. So I am going to attempt to show some light on this oil. And although this looks completely normal, and it's really, really hard, you can kind of see it already right there. Look at all that brass. So I'd recommend you guys get your oil changed. Anybody who watches my channel that has an ATC, I'd probably straight get down on changing that oil now. But anyway, still seems to have good lubricity, that kind of stuff. It's still pretty sweet, so if you taste it, it's still pretty sweet. So the oil's actually good. But yeah, that right there is a major concern for me. But anyway, long story short, you guys have an awesome day. Appreciate you watching the channel. And that's going to be a 2024 ATC 4528 7,000 watt Cummins Onan generator. All right, you guys have an awesome day. See ya.